The last Countryman on this channel weighed 3,777 pounds, and I spent the entire episode talking about how that Countryman hid its weight from you. This is the SE. It's electric. It weighs 4,588 pounds, about 811 pounds more, a grand piano's worth of extra mass, and by every rule I know, it should drive worse than the car I praised for weighing less. Except MINI didn't hide this weight. They dropped it into the floor. So, one question. Is the heaviest Countryman ever built the best one to drive? "308 horsepower, 364 pounds of torque, and 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. In an old MINI, those numbers would have produced a whole lot of tire smoke, torque steer, and a big argument with the steering wheel. Here, not much happens except the scenery seems to change rapidly. There's no launch control drama, no gasoline motor passing through its torque peak onto its power peak. It's simply uneventful. You press the throttle, it goes, it delivers all the torques you want all at once, because that's how electric motors work. And torque distribution is so well resolved that the front and rear axles sort it out before you even have a chance to think about it. Yes, it's quick, and some will say that it has the emotional range of an elevator. MINI adds synthetic sounds and piped-in noises in go-kart mode, which is ironic because this go-kart weighs as much as a small marina. And if you leave it in go-kart mode, like we're driving here, and you're enthusiastic with the throttle, these noises can get a little grating. I would just shut those off. With it set to maximum regen, you can almost drive it like a true one-pedal driving car. It's not quite there, but maximum regen naturally helps you decelerate, and they've calibrated that perfectly. And in this mode, the car does the work of a downshift and lifting off the throttle without making a production out of the whole thing. There is no transmission here, just two electric motors with fixed ratios, and every complaint about every kind of transmission simply dies here. Those complaints die because MINI deleted the part that causes the complaints, and sometimes progress is subtraction. The powertrain, if you want to call it that, in this Countryman SE does zero imitation of the Countryman S. The ALL4 on the gas-powered Countryman has a clutch pack that engages to send torque rearward when the front tires lose grip. The ALL4 system on the Countryman S is front-biased, and it's reactive. This SE solves that whole problem by putting an electric motor at each axle. Here, there's no prop shaft, and there's certainly no clutch patiently waiting to decide to get involved. Whether it's low grip conditions or you decide to be foolish with aggressive throttle settings in the corners and you lose grip at the front, well, the torque at the rear axle covers it instantly, and it reacts faster than you could ever think about it. And it's certainly quicker to react than the ALL4 system in the Countryman S. Same badge on the back, two totally different animals. The low center of gravity and the instant torque both come from the battery. The other side of owning an EV is putting energy back into that battery. We're plugging in here on today's sponsor, which is Jule, and the charger is the part you touch. The cabinet behind it is the reason it works. Most fast chargers ask the grid for an enormous amount of power the moment a car plugs in. Jule stores energy in a battery first, then sends it to the car quickly when it's needed. Think of the underground tank at a gas station, because nobody fills that tank the instant someone pulls the nozzle from the pump and sticks it into a car. With a tank like that, you keep it full and then dispense gas when people need it for their cars. Jule moved that tank from underground to a battery cabinet. From the driver's seat, nothing changes. You plug in, you charge your car, the cabinet does the hard work, smoothing out a grid you never see. With the right charger, that's a thing you start and walk away from. How far a charge gets you and what winter weather does to that number, well, owners have a lot to say about that. That's later in the episode. Now, back to the road. Steering's quick, and I think MINI's always liked the quick steering rack, but here it makes this tall crossover feel a lot more responsive. What you don't get is a lot of feel. Even here on center, it's artificial. There's very little feedback coming through this steering wheel, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because the steering is quick and it is precise, and that front end always does what you expect it to do. This is the thing. It points where you aim it, but at the same time, without telling you what the front tires are up to. It's precise and mute at the same time. Braking is one question I don't know if I can fully answer, because up to the limit of regen, it is fantastic. And on maximum regen, which is how I drive this thing, it works properly and does exactly what I want it to do. When you're driving with some enthusiasm, like we enjoy doing, and you push past that regen with the brake pedal and get into the actual friction brakes, it tells a different story. Once you're into that pedal, it feels like that pedal wants twice the brake pedal pressure that it wanted just a second ago. In normal day-to-day driving, this doesn't happen. It's when you're driving enthusiastically where you find that this high regen and friction braking aren't really blended perfectly together. Now let's try this again. Yeah, it's like my toes feel it before my brain has worked it all out. Is it the calibration for this car? Is it this specific tester? Or is it just my enthusiastic driving style? Good questions. Now, this whole episode comes down to just one measurement. It's that the gas Countryman carries a little over 57% of its weight over the front axle. And of course it's nose heavy because there's a gasoline motor up there doing gasoline motor things. This one, 811 pounds heavier, sits at almost a perfect 50-50 static weight distribution. Now, on this channel, we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. But this is meaningful. After the first few minutes behind the wheel, my brain registered the balance as neutral well before I decided whether I liked the steering or not. And all of that battery mass lives well below the seat, below your feet. And what's really impressive is that body control is excellent. There's very minimal roll, if any, and none of that behavior comes from fancy dampers. This Countryman SE has conventional dampers. It does not have the adaptive kind. And I think these good dynamic characteristics are a byproduct of MINI giving this Countryman the natural weight distribution it always wanted. The catch comes on a bad road, and in the Toronto area, we have an abundance of those. There are no adaptive dampers. Dynamic damper control is standard on the JCW. It's optional on the S, and for this SE, it's completely absent from the spec sheet and the options list. If you live somewhere south of winter and the roads are smooth, this thing is absolutely brilliant. And on this road surface, its behavior is impeccable. Now, if I think about it, it's a little bit of a compromise for a whole lot of dynamic composure, and that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. And on smooth roads like this, you don't even think about it. We know enthusiasts, and I've been guilty of this too in the past, but enthusiasts will chase a lower center of gravity with lowering springs. With this SE, MINI achieved it by accident by having to find a place to put 1,000 pounds worth of battery. Subscribers get notified when new episodes hit YouTube. Everyone else leaves it to the algorithm. If you'd like to see our episodes when they drop on YouTube, well, that's what the subscribe button does. These sports seats are fantastic. They're well bolstered, they are supportive, and they're comfortable over long distances. What is unusual, however, 2027, and at this price, they're manually adjustable. Yes, there are various levers to change the seating position, and for me, it wouldn't bother me at all because my wife and I use exactly the same seating position, but for a 2027 model year MINI, and at this price point, it is a little unusual and not quite what I was expecting. And sadly, for this generation MINI, we've lost the adjustable under thigh support for the seats, and it was one of my favorite features. And don't get me wrong, this seat is great, and for me, the seating position would never change, but if you share a car and have different sized drivers, which necessitates seat adjustment, well, getting fitted is a little bit like 1998. This circular OLED screen is peak MINI. It's charming in a lot of ways and slightly bizarre in others. That's because we are living in this modern era, and MINI's placed a circular screen when we're surrounded by information presented to us in a rectangular format. But Mini's committed to the bit. They've managed to cram everything here, and of course, CarPlay displays as a square in this round screen. And I know there's a good square peg in a round hole joke in here somewhere. Best one in the comments wins a sticker pack. The heads-up display handles the most important information, like the speed you're traveling and the speed limit, so you don't have to look at the circular screen in the middle of the car. You can keep your eyes focused on the road ahead. And if you're unfamiliar with these new Minis, you'd look at this and you say, this shouldn't work, but in practice, it actually does work, and it works very well. Everywhere else, this Countryman SE plays it straight, but it's in this cabin where everything here has to be strangely on brand. The knitted dashboard and the knitted upper portion of the door cards make a bold statement here. During the day, it's an interesting texture and it's very attractive, but at night, what they have done is they've placed some LED lighting behind that knitting, and of course, you get different colors depending on your drive mode. I mean, experience. After you take your hands and they have to go below this knitted portion of the dashboard to open the glove box, for example, you do find some hard plastics. For a car at this price point, these plastics should be just a little bit more soft touch. But when you're behind the wheel, this upper knitted material adds a wonderfully distinctive and attractive character to the cabin. This SE is uncompromised when it comes to practicality. I think it's got to be the same as the S, 25 cubic feet behind the second row. And if you fold that second row, you've got a total of 56 cubic feet, and that second row also slides fore and aft. I would say that that second row is better for 2 people than for 3, but you could put 3 people back there in a pinch. And unless you really know what you're looking for, this Countryman SE looks identical to the S. It does the most important job first, which is being a crossover, and wears that EV badge second, and I think that's the whole point of this Countryman SE. Now, I don't think anyone cross-shops a Countryman against a RAV4, and if there's anyone out there that does, let me know in the comments. Either you want the mini things, the round screen and the Union Jack light, and that your crossover has some stylish sensibilities, or you don't. And I think Mini knows that, which might explain why it's priced like this. If you'd like to support the channel beyond just watching, the link to the merch store is here, and your support there means more time for us to produce episodes like this and a little less time worrying about industry access. No pressure, just an option. That was my week with the Countryman SE. Owners log thousands of miles more than I do, so I read the forums and the subreddits. As expected, owners have some different experiences in the real world, and a few things come up a little too often to ignore. Charging is where the sticker and real-world driving part ways. In warm weather, owners hit the rating, and some beat it, and they praise the range for not lying. It says 200, you get 200. Then winter. A Wisconsin owner watched a full charge fall from 200 plus to 140 miles, and an owner who experienced a deep freeze saw 75. I think that's a little extreme. On a pack this small, the loss bites into real miles. Owners say that the peak 130 kilowatt rate only lives below 40% charge, and a cold battery crawls in at 30. The fix that the owners pass around is the right one. Set a charger destination on the car's navigation, and it preconditions the battery on the way. Software is another constant, and owners are still experiencing some OS 9 glitches. Owners say that updates break that previously worked, and the community's first aid is a 40-second hold on the volume button. They also say the Hey Mini voice assistant mostly ignores you, which owners handle by never speaking to it. There is one mechanical thread which is interesting, and it's the kind that only owners find. A low-speed shudder traced to a front motor sensor and a 12-volt harness. Parts from Germany, one car down for nearly 2 months. 2 owners, same fix. And generally, owners share the same sentiment with their Countryman SE. It's affection with an asterisk. They love their cars, and they've learned that it's a quick home charging commuter, not a winter road tripper, which is what its dynamics and range already told us. If you own one of these or have some quality seat time behind the wheel of one of these, let me know in the comments what I got right and what I got wrong, because real-world owner experiences are much more valuable than anything I can learn in a week-long press loan, and I always read those comments. So, The question from the top, is the heaviest Countryman ever the best one to drive? Unequivocally, yes. And it isn't even close, because what makes a car good through a corner isn't lightness, it's where the weight sits. The gas car spent its entire dynamics engineering budget fighting a 57% front weight bias. This one has no bias to hide. 811 extra pounds, all of it low, and the chassis is more sorted for carrying it. Sure, it's heavier, but dynamically, it's better for it. So who is this car for? It's for the Mini buyer who wants the electric one and doesn't need a spreadsheet to explain why a round screen has emotional value. Everything worth having here is in the driving dynamics, and they walk into the Mini store knowing the catch. 216 is the EPA number, and in summer it holds up. Winter is where it collapses. Charging tops out at 130 kilowatts. It's fine, but not quick. And none of that changes how enjoyable this is to drive. It just makes the ownership experience a little less adorable. The internet will tell you 216 miles of range will make this car DOA. The internet has also never met the person who buys a Mini, drives 30 miles a day, and charges in their garage overnight. And range anxiety is mostly a message board sport. A $50,000 Mini used to be a punchline. Then everything got expensive, a mid-sized truck cost 70 grand, and a well-built crossover that handles like this stopped looking like a luxury and started looking like the reasonable one. Inflation, my friends, makes fools of all of us. From where I'm sitting, the heaviest Mini is the most composed one, and there's some actual numbers that support it. The gas-powered S carries a little more than 57% of its weight on the nose. This one, 811 pounds more, has nearly perfect 50-50 weight distribution. And that, as you know, is because the mass sits low in the floor, not over the front axle. Yes, it's composed and it's balanced, but the catch is the ride on rough road surfaces. There are no adaptive dampers. It rides a little firmer, so all of those rough road surfaces get transmitted into the cabin. And despite these seats just being manually adjustable, they're excellent, and I would recommend them. And if you're looking at a Countryman SE, buy this for how it drives, which is how you should buy any Mini. That's the Countryman SE. Subscribe if you want to see more episodes like this. Don't if you don't. Comments are open if you disagree, and if you'd like to help fund more episodes like this, the link to the merch store is here. See you on the next one.